And now I'd like to open the meeting to the sharing of testimonies of healing through Christian Science.
I am grateful tonight because I am now 100% sure that God is always speaking to me. When I first came to Plainfield, I was very concerned about how to know if my spiritual sense was working. I was worried that my years of being anything but godly somehow busted that ability. Thankfully, I didn't have a lot of time to worry about that because within a few days of being here, I was put to work and told by a practitioner to call every day. I had no idea what a practitioner was, so I didn't know at first why I was calling, but that daily check-in was and remains a spiritual uplift, and I always feel energized to get back to work afterward. Each day my practitioner relates everything back to God, and because of that, it now seems very normal for me to do that in my own thought. And since it seems normal, I know that the disconnect that I felt existed between me and God is completely healed. And that is a very good thing for two reasons. First, doing church work never works without God. And second, each step forward always seems way beyond my capabilities, so I can't progress 1 inch without Him. I am grateful for every reason He gives me to grow in Christian Science and to be useful to Him in this church. But most of all, I'm grateful to know that He never stops speaking to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim from Arizona, go ahead.
Thank you. In John, we find, humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and He shall lift you up. God is everywhere, so we must follow this at all times. Recently, I had difficulty getting into the watches from the church, and I did all the mechanical items that I could think of to accomplish this task, but with no success. It was not until I realized that I had to get first-person singular out of the way. I must get Jim out of the way. And that's when things started to succeed. Soon, was revealed to me that a very simple item was missing. And it is now, I am now able to handle all of the meetings on the telephone. I am most grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful to have learned about our good God and about sharing our good with everyone. I don't remember praying as I was growing up, but here I've learned about prayer and to include everyone in our prayers. For instance, getting into my car, I know that God is at my wheel and every wheel. When I leave home, I pray for my home and every home. When the weather is not good, I work to know that God is in control. The weather is everywhere under His control every moment. There's nothing that God can't do or heal. I'm so grateful for Mrs. Eddy, for giving this wonderful way of life, for God, for all the practitioner help that I've had, and that God brought me here. That I'm very, very grateful for. And thank you for those wonderful readings.
Thank you. Again, I just remembered I should be announcing everyone. The first testimony was given by Jeremy. Then we heard from Jim from Arizona. And after that was Lillian. Thank you. Fairley from Maryland, go ahead.
I would like to express my deep and unending gratitude to the Plainfield Christian Science Church, first of all for having won their independence from the main Christian Science organization and then reaching out to the world with their website, through which I found them 3 years ago. After years of trying before, this church has given me the opportunity to truly begin to understand and practice Christian Science. Unlike the 10 days of class instruction, which was all that was available when I joined the main Christian Science church, Plainfield offers continual teaching sessions in the Bible studies on Saturday mornings and the roundtable sessions on Sunday mornings, directing us in living our lives as Christian Scientists. With those, plus the constant availability of my practitioner here and the literature from early workers that Plainfield has made available, I feel that I have gradually made progress. I am able to realize advances I have made in freeing myself of old habits, old thinking, and human beliefs that tend to entrap, while gaining an awareness of God's ever-presence. So, as Mrs. Eddy points out in her article, Obedience, the warfare with oneself is grand. It gives one plenty of employment. I have yet far to go, but from depression before I came until now, my life has been on a steady trajectory upward, and new understanding and freedom from fear keep me buoyant and joyful. I am grateful to God for bringing me here, and I pray for all to find the truth of life through Christian Science. Thank you.
Thank you. Joanne from Florida, go ahead.
Thank you. 12 years ago, I let pride, willfulness, and the glamour of materialism take me away from Plainfield Church. I foolishly thought I could live Christian Science in my own way, according to my rules. I moved to a faraway state, thinking the climate and life would be better there, and also with the hope of rekindling relationships with family, who I soon realized were opposed to my beliefs. They ultimately condemned and deserted me. I tried to seek companionship and happiness in social acquaintances and activities, but that left me lonely and depressed. I reached the very bottom when I found myself trying to combat boredom, deep dissatisfaction, and emptiness with gambling, which soon became an addiction I couldn't control with human will. In deep despair, I turned to God and begged for help. That was almost 2 months ago, when I was led to call a practitioner here in Plainfield Church. Through the practitioner's help, I am starting a long overdue journey back to God and true Christian Science. It is hard work, but it's glorious. And for the first time in years, I feel joyful and hopeful again, with a purpose to my life. I thank God for this church. It is satisfying a deep emptiness in my life. I thank God for the practitioner help I receive here, for the priceless teaching I received here so very long ago, and for Mrs. Eddy for this blessed Christian Science. And thank you for those readings tonight.
Thank you. Tom from Iowa, go ahead.
Thank you. A couple days ago, I received the book that I ordered from Plainfield, Watches, Prayers, and Arguments, which was given by Mary Baker Eddy in her home Pleasant View to her students. I'm also very grateful for the Unity Watches and to be learning more about watching and what it means to do that. I know that Mrs. Eddy's discovery of Christian Science is the most important discovery ever made, and Plainfield Church is sending it throughout the world, reaching all mankind. There's nothing more important going on elsewhere. So, thanks to God that enables all this to happen. I'm also grateful for practitioner help I've been receiving. Thank you.
Thank you. Chardell from Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Good evening. First of all, it just came to me. I have to let you know that Wednesday is an oasis in the week, and I couldn't wait for the service to start tonight. And tonight I would like to express my gratitude for the lesson forum on the Plainfield website. A year ago, it was a puzzle to me with my old computer, especially all the numerals on the left-hand column. Finally, with assistance and a new computer, I was able to log on and navigate my way in and find profound and beautiful postings. These honest, heartfelt sharings are a blessing to the world and a gift to all. Yes, God is always speaking to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Luann from New York, go ahead.
Thank you. I've been searching for the right words to best express what I feel in my heart for a few weeks now, but it seems that the words I used to describe my emotions no longer fit. The memories of the experiences I long endured, although they have faded into their native nothingness, seem to merely define the mountain I have been climbing. Standing at the bottom and looking up, I was so filled with anger, doubts, and impossibilities, I wanted to just give up. Then after being led to Christian Science and reaching out to a practitioner from this church, all I want to do now is live life so fully, I can hardly get out of my own way and let it all unfold. I might as well have been enduring my experiences for 50 years, because that is what it felt like, living in bondage to the pain of those memories. Now with so much given to me through Christian Science, every day is filled with love and joy. Even if I still feel a slight pain from time to time, it makes no difference. I know that too shall pass. Life is all around me, and I want to be a part of it every day. Everything I do seems like it has more dimension, more depth, greater meaning, stronger presence of soul, a freedom that is indescribable. I have not felt depressed in so long, I cannot remember when it left me. It has been hard work, but that is where the joy comes from, finding that persistence pays off when you're working for God. Thank God for my practitioner who stood strong in Christ's truth against every error that had me so wrapped up in chains. I never knew there was this kind of love in the world. Correct interpretation of the Bible given to us in Science and Health, and the many wonderful writings by Mary Baker Eddy is an indescribable force that reveals the lie and breaks the mesmerism. It is clearing away the clouds of confusion for me. I am discovering new things about myself and the unlimited possibilities of life in God. For the most part, I feel like I'm living outside of the person I identified with before and more connected with soul. If it were not for the weight of my body, I would have no consciousness of it. I feel like I'm seeing the world for the first time. Life in God has made everything richer, more meaningful, and far more beautiful than anything I have ever experienced. In enlightened view, I can now rejoice in the greater good that surrounds me. And late at night, I find myself smiling when I discover that God has been there all along. I'm so grateful for everything I've been given that has enabled me to know that God is real.
Thank you. Linda from Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Yes, good evening. I want to express my gratitude for the Plainfield Christian Science Independent Church and the practitioner support that I have been getting. After years of building walls, I've seen them break down, walls of anger, with the love that is expressed here, and opening my heart to know and feel God. This led to a recent moment of forgiveness that I found in my heart for a person in my past whose decisions led to the death of a beloved pet, and there was thoughtless behavior afterward. Because of the warmth and the love, I was able to take and replace anger and judgment with tenderness and compassion. Sorrow and pain lifted, and I found comfort warmth filled within where resentment had been. It was an amazing experience for me to go through this, and I know I could not have done it without the love and care from Plainfield, and I am so grateful for all everyone does. Thank you very much for the beautiful readings and the beautiful music tonight. Good evening.
Thank you.
I've been working rather diligently lately.
This is Carol from New Jersey. Go ahead, Carol.
Thank you. I've been working rather diligently lately to be even more obedient to God, to really know what obedience to God is. And one thing that's been a big help to me is every once in a while, especially if I feel I'm being pushed, I stop and I say, okay, Father, how am I doing? And I get an answer. And it's not always that you're doing well. Sometimes it's, okay, you tripped on that one. Now, do it better next time. And I just am so very grateful because I'm feeling so much closer to God. He really is right here. And it's just it's a wonderful comfort. It's a wonderful support. And I just am so very grateful to God for him being here and loving us. And I am extremely grateful for practitioner help that I'm getting along the way. And thank you again for those readings tonight.
Thank you. This is Bruce. I'd like to share my testimony tonight. This may not be all that big of a one, but it's a testimony nonetheless. The other day the phone rang and I was perfectly at peace. And you might think, well, so what? Well, in the past, I had this issue where every time the phone rang, I jumped. And my wife can tell you some stories. Like, no matter how much I would deny it, obviously it was there, my wife would remind me of it, which was a good thing. I think one of the things that helped me so much, here again, I'm talking about this article by Mary Baker Eddy called God's Nearness, and it's on our website. It's in our most recent issue of Love is the Liberator magazine. It's a wonderful article, and it's helped me immensely. Obviously, it talked about God, omnipresence, which is a pretty amazing thing, that this wonderful good force is literally everywhere, God. And the article went on talking about it's not enough to just talk about how good God is, in fact, that he's everywhere. You need to expose error. It needs to be called out and exposed. And for that, I'm also thankful for my wife again, because whenever I'd have this nervous jump, and every time the phone rang, she would be telling me about it, which was a good thing. But this article brought me back to God, and of course my favorite statement from that article, whatever comes to me today brings me a blessing. So here's Mary Baker Eddy laying down the rule for the day, that whatever it brings a blessing with it. So I'm following in her example, saying every time that phone rings, good news, bad news, doesn't matter what it is, you bring what it may, there's going to be a blessing there. Therefore, I was no longer apprehensive about every time the phone rang. And when the phone rang recently, I thought, okay, whatever it is there, I'll take it, and God has an answer. And there was no jumping or apprehension about the telephone anymore. Thank you, God. And I'm thankful for everything I'm learning here in this church. Okay, Gary, go ahead.
I'm grateful for a lesson I learned quite a while ago in this church about diligence. You see, when I first got to Plainfield, I thought I was very diligent. Give me a job to do and it would get done. I was always on time. I always worked really hard to make sure I finished whatever I started. I was Mr. Diligent, so I thought. However, I was not very satisfied with it And I always felt this conflict between what I wanted to do for church and what I thought I had to do elsewhere in my life. And then one Sunday, a fine teacher of Christian Science in this church gave a sermon in this church. And the sermon was the importance of diligence. And after that sermon, I began a soul search that changed my life. Because I realized that while I was very diligent about the things of the world, my job, career, family, I was not at all diligent about the things of God. And so I changed. I began to be more diligent about the things of God. And when I would face a multitude of tasks at the beginning of a day, I would do the things that I wanted to do for church first, instead of doing them last, or in many cases, instead of not doing them at all. And something really interesting happened when I started to do that. When I started to become more diligent about the things of God, everything else in my life started turning out better than it had ever been. And it illustrated to me a really important fact, law of the universe, that when I take care of the things of God, He takes better care of me than anything than I could ever hope for. Period. I am so grateful for this lesson. I'm so grateful for the fine teaching I've had in this church over the years and continue to have. And I'm so grateful to Mary Baker Eddy for giving us this tremendous science of Christianity, the way to live. It's so great to be here tonight.
Thank you. Sharon, go ahead.
I'm just so grateful for the many lessons I've learned in this church. And one of the things was to go over every night before going to sleep all the blessings of the day. And I find that throughout the day there's a lot of blessings. People do kind things, and it's God working through them. Recently I was doing a project, and one of my coworkers said, "Let me do this for you, and then you can finish with what you're doing." And it was a little task, but it meant so much. And I was just so happy to be able to be grateful and know this was God working through this person, and to thank Him for all His love and care. I can't be grateful enough for this church, for the practitioner help I receive, and for all the blessings that Christian Science has made in my life. And thank you for the readings.
Thank you. Okay, we'll close. Go ahead, Gary.
Okay. Well, we do have a few things from the church website bulletin board, which we can finish with. From Maryland, congratulations to Peter and Faith on the new CD. The song at the August 9th service was just so beautiful. Thank you also for carousel post from Mrs. Eddy's essays on worry. I loved the practicality of it. So blessed to have found a church where Christian Science is so much more than nice words and abstract theories. And from Georgia, congratulations to Peter and Faith on their new album. Such a beautiful performance on Sunday. Words escape me. All I can think of is wow. Thank you, Plainfield, for sharing it. And from Florida, Thank you for the lesson, forum, and roundtable sessions. Again, this week, thanks to the input of fellow members, I received so much more that I hadn't seen while studying by myself. Thank you all for sharing. And from Costa Rica, thank God for the Plainfield Church. What would we do without it? Where would we be without it? To cut a long story short, I am grateful for all the things the other testifiers are grateful for. And from Pennsylvania, what an outstandingly beautiful service tonight, August 5th. Everything was perfect. Music, hymns, the readings on hope and trusting God. Each testimony spoken was a treatment for me. I had been praying about home today, and the first testimony gave me strength to know that God gives me home and that I am safe. Thank you, Plainfield Church, for your dedicated healing work for all mankind. And from Vermont, thank you for a very uplifting Wednesday night meeting with beautiful readings, testimonies, and organ music. The final hymn, number 389, left me in tears of comfort and joy during a seemingly overwhelming week. While thou, O my God, art my help and defender, no cares can o'erwhelm me, nor terrors appall. The wiles and the snares of this world will but render more lively my hope in my God and my all. These meetings are such a blessing, and I will finish my work this week with joy, knowing that I can of mine own self do nothing, for I am nothing without God, and that it is through helping others that we find true fulfillment. Thank you again, everyone at Plainfield Church.
Thank you. Day from Georgia, go ahead.
I'm thankful. I used to think that it was still teachings.
Okay, go ahead, Day. We can hear you.
I'm thankful for all that I'm learning about gratitude. I used to think that it was all about saying thank you. And now, thanks to the Plainfield teachings and my new understanding of God, I found that it's necessary to express gratitude through what I say and what I do, and to do so consistently. I've learned the significance of putting thought and prayer into how I say and do things in order to ensure that my motives are pure, sincere, and God-directed. I'm now praying daily for new ways to express my gratitude, and I'm thankful for the opportunities that God is giving me to do so. Thank you so much for tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Florence from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm so grateful tonight for the readings, so grateful for the meeting and the testimonies. This week it really struck me how much work is going on in this church. Literature being sent out, lessons being written. So much is going on. The forum is filled with different posts from different people. It just fills my heart with such deep gratitude, because I know that how it's going on is because we each have accepted good as the real, and we each are humbly working what God has given each of us to do. I am so grateful to be a part of this. I am so grateful that the forum, again, is so full that now I probably have to make them 6 pages instead of 4 pages. And all this is because God is working with us. I can't be grateful enough for what I have learned through this church and how it has changed my life. And I know that all the good going out to the whole world is changing lives everywhere also. Thank you so much for the meeting.
Thank you.